Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited you could be here because today we're diving into two very important topics in one podcast interview. We're going to be talking about your brand story and how to build that out because this is what gets people to gravitate to you and want to work with your company, your brand, and especially you. And on top of that, how this ties into your growth strategy, how to grow better, more reliably, so you can actually tie these things together, get your brand story right, and then tie that in with your ability to actually grow better within your business. So to have this conversation with us today is Pascal Bachmann. Now, he's an internationally recognized expert in personal branding, public relations, and life and business strategy with over 30 years of experience. He has built 8 different businesses across 4 different industries, generating 8-figure revenues, and has coached over 20,000 individuals through his transformative process. Now, Pascal's journey is not just marked by entrepreneurial success, but also by resilience in the face of adversity. His experiences include enduring a 100-day water fast and navigating the challenges of an 8-figure bankruptcy, 2 pivotal moments that shaped his philosophy on personal growth, resilience, and the power of purpose-driven entrepreneurship. Now, as the CEO of Strategy Achievers, Pascal leads a values-driven agency that helps entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, public figures, and influencers build impactful, sustainable businesses through personal branding and PR. And under his leadership, Strategy Achievers has become a go-to agency for high-level media exposure and strategic growth, helping clients grow their influence and credibility across industries. Pascal, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me. That was a long intro. There's a lot to say, and there is a lot that we didn't mention that we're going to talk about now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you've been featured on Yahoo Finance, the New York Finance, so many other places. You've done so many great things. And I appreciate you coming back on the show. I have to start with this. So I took on a 7-day water fast and made it 3 days. What the heck, man? How do you make it through a 100-day water fast? That's crazy.
Yeah, the funny thing is I didn't plan that. Like I think when I was on your show like 4 or 5 years ago, I was in Switzerland. I think around that time I did a 62 day. I did 42, 62, and then 100. I took a shower in November and last year, and it just came through me somehow like it's time for a 100-day fast. I went to the kitchen, talked to my wife, hey, I'm gonna do a 100-day water fast, and she go like, okay, go for it. I support you. And then it's literally um, yeah, I think that's part of who I am and what I do. If I commit, I commit. I didn't think anything about it, but I think knowledge and experience is one part, but to also set your own rules on how the end goal looks like is super important. That was one of the main messages that I tried to bring across when I did that, because the belief of the many is it's not possible. That's what we learned, right? It's unhealthy, it's not possible, and I'm not recommending to do that to anyone. But I think often in business and life, we do things the way other people tell us to do based on their beliefs. And often their beliefs are rooted in nothingness. It's just something that they believe because this is how they grew up, this is how they were educated. But nobody questions, like, okay, where does the knowledge that I receive come from? It's from somewhere, somehow. And I just decided to create my own rules and trusted in it. And it was absolutely an easy walk through the 100 days.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, you are really the man in the branding space. And when it comes to personal branding, what attracted you to personal branding to start with?
It was the time that we all went through about 3 years ago, 3, 4 years ago. I realized that the majority of society are followers. They see, they listen, they read, they believe, and they follow what they believe based on what they read, like similar to the fasting thing. And what I realized coming from the health industry, that today more than ever, so many experts and authorities and gurus are online giving advice. And for me in the health industry, I just was a little bit shocked many times when I, for example, we all know people most of the time go to Google for three main reasons. They want to buy something, they want to achieve a goal faster, or they want to fix a problem. In the health industry, if they go on Google and say, okay, how to health problem, whatever it is, and they believe an authority or expert who's only there for the sake of money and for their ego, giving advice in an area that they're not really an expert and authority in, it can have a disastrous ripple effect because the buyer who believes and pay maybe is a dad of five, maybe has 20 employees, and it can destroy their health based on trust that Google offers as a solution based on the question that we type in. And I saw that more and more, how many people are affected from wrong advice, following wrong advice from people who pretend to be authorities but actually don't have had any experience. And instead of finger pointing, I ask myself, like, how can I change that? How can I contribute to make real authorities and experts shine in a way that they can have more impact with what they do as, again, as authorities who actually have the experience rather than those who just appear for the sake of money. So that's why I decided to focus on personal branding. And of course, beside that, the 8 businesses that I've built in the past, personal branding was always the one thing that I now today know was one of the most impactful things if it comes to building trust.
Yeah, and which I strongly agree. I always say that, there's if you do two things, you do them right, you're going to have a seven-figure plus business. One is that you need to have a paid ad strategy or something that's scalable, but the other is personal branding. Like if you become an influencer in your space, then you combine that with a way to basically scalably get traffic. It's over. Like you're going to have a seven or eight figure business. I mean, it's one of the core absolute must do things that you've got to be able to accomplish to really have an effective growth strategy. Now, that being said, how do you? I also find that a lot of the entrepreneurs that follow us have a hard time developing their authenticity when it comes to personal branding. So I imagine that's a problem for people that are coming to you as well. How do you guide them through that process of creating an authentic personal brand?
Super question. I love it because this is, I believe, like almost all entrepreneurs face the same challenge. And it always starts with even understanding what is a personal brand. Like I have so many entrepreneurs who come and say, hey, it's not about me, it's about the product, it's about the service. I don't want to be in the spotlight. It's really about the value that I provide. That's all good and nice, but that time is over. I mean, we look at the big brands. Why do we all know who Jeff Bezos is? Why do we know all know who like Musk? You can name any of the big companies founders because they understand where trust is built and how to develop that. Literally out of 10 clients, 9 out of 10 clients, 9 face the first stepping stone when we ask the uncomfortable questions when we do the onboarding, which is very, I believe, unique in the space when building a personal brand or even doing PR and stuff like that. I believe a personal brand, a true personal brand, is the expression of who you are as a person behind the service, behind the product. Who are you? And when I ask that question, do you have an identity statement? Who are you? 95% of the time, I get the job description. I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm a podcaster. No, that's what you do. Who are you? And people get confused and I go on and say, listen, to make this looking at that from a completely different angle, do you agree we all die one day? Of course, everybody say yes. I say, okay, is it fair to say that the day will come when you say, I drop my body? Everybody agrees again. I say, okay, who is I? Who is I? Who are you? Who's the person who do everything you do behind what you do? To really go deep and think about those things is something most people don't do, never did. They assume that they are what they do. But this is where core values come in. That's the deep discovery. But core value is not just core value. If I, for example, decide what core values I have, the next question is then, okay, let's say um, honesty is a core value of mine. Why is honesty a core value of mine? Do I run away from something because I was cheated on years ago and now honesty becomes a core value? Or is it something that I have within me that's pulling me based on who I truly am? Another example, for example, being free or freedom, like why? Were you locked up years ago as a child in your room and you were grounded all the time, and now you subconsciously have a negative or a limiting belief or a negative emotion that you try to get rid of, and that's why you define being free a core value? Or is it something again within you that pulls you toward being free based on who you truly are? Same core value, completely different meaning. But this is where it usually starts, like to really figure out and take the time, really take the time to figure out, who am I? Like, who is that I? And that's where I believe we truly connect as human beings. I call it the unspoken word. Everybody feels it, nobody sees it. We go in a room and we just feel it. People attract us or not. It's the frequency, it's the energy, and that's the expression of who we are. But how clear are we on that? That's the first step.
When you accomplish that step, what do you do from there to use that information to be able to create a powerful brand story that really resonates with the people that you want to serve?
What we do from there is, and again, that's something that many people slash entrepreneurs in general have or should have, I believe, is a vision statement. It's all old school, considered for many old school, but vision statement, the same thing. It's almost like a GPS. Like if we know where to go, we put in the address, but where's the starting point? The starting point is me. So once I decided who I am, what do I want to achieve? What's my vision in business and life? And is it aligned? Because I'm the person who runs the business, I'm the visionary. But how clear am I about that future? I always ask entrepreneurs, how much every single day, how many times every single day do you visit that future? When you can you close your eyes and actually visit that place? How clear is it? How does it look like? How does it smell like? How clear are you on where you actually want to go? And that's the next step, clarity on what do I want to achieve and why, based on who I am. And I think again this navigates from I serve everybody to okay, I decide or define my target audience. It's not just like create an avatar. That's almost like a wish list. It goes just much deeper. And this is where we start to resonate with the right people. If we decide who we are, if we are super clear and sharp on where we want to go, what do we want to achieve, why do we want to achieve it, with who do we want to achieve it, with who do we not want to achieve it, clear qualifiers and disqualifiers on who not, and brings us into the space of not just clarity on what we do, why we do it, and where we go, but with who. It's just a completely different persona that we create going through that process. And then, yeah, it's all about creating the visibility. Like once all that is decided, I always say visibility creates credibility, and credibility makes you an expert and authority in the perception of your potential clients. Again, they see, hear, believe based on what they get presented. And this is a little bit almost like if it comes to distributing your truth and what you want and who you are and why you do it, it's almost a little bit like politics. I don't want to go into politics at all, but they can decide what the many believe based on where, when, how they publish. Because again, the society read and they assume that authorities or what authorities say is the truth. It can be in a newspaper, it can be in a magazine, it can be on a podcast, it can be on TV. But the majority believe that this is how it is based on how and where it is released. And in politics, often it is manipulation. And what we do in branding, like the way we do it, we influence your potential clients to believe exactly what we want them to believe based on where, when, and how we publish who you are and what you do.
When we figure this out, when we really start to identify what our goals are and who we are, what our values are, what our mission is, not just as a company, but as an individual, we make sure that we're in alignment. We have that brand story. Then how does that tie into growth strategy with getting that message out into the world so people can see that and then want to get attracted to us?
That's almost like a flow that comes first. We decide all those things, and then it's really how do I start or how do I switch? Many, to not say most people, always as a client or an entrepreneur, we always ask what's in it for me somehow, right? It's we should do business for them. We should provide value. It's all like we hear that so many times everywhere. But how about turning that sentence around? Instead of asking what is in it for me, what is in me for it? And to really go from that place, do I really want to provide value? What is in me for it? How do I truly do that? Is my target audience just a defined persona on a piece of paper, or do I really mean it? Once I'm very clear on that, then it's all about distribution. Like, how does the landing page look like? How does the website look like? Does my message come across the way, not just, and this is very important now, not just how I think it is good. We always need to think in the three. Number one is, what do I like? What is my truth? Is it aligned? Number one. Number two, what do they need in order to take action? They, my potential clients. So we know that as coaches, don't tell them what they need, tell them what they want, or give them what they want, because they don't know yet what they need. So that's the transition in coaching. Same thing, if we need to find that alignment. How can I state my truth and talk about the deliverables or the goal or the destination in a way that my target audience is attracted, in a way that they want to take action. But then number three, super important, what does Google need in order to give you or present you as a solution for those who are on search? Often we forget Google. We do what we want. We do what we think right is right. We make the nicest landing pages and websites and social media profiles and posts and all that stuff the way we think is right. We try to provide value, but what do all these algorithms, especially Google, want and need in order to display you as an authority and expert compared to others in your industry and space? So it's a lot about application and
You've got
yeah.
like 30 years of experience in helping clients through this, helped a lot of people, like 20,000 plus clients. When you're walking people through these exercises, what are just some of the barriers and roadblocks that they run into? You addressed one, like what is I? Like, what is that? Let's figure that out first. What are some of the other roadblocks and hurdles that people run into really trying to figure this out, figure out who they are, figure out what they stand for, figure out what their story is?
It's funny that you ask that, because I recently co-authored a book with Brian Tracy, and I actually speak for Brian Tracy on his events. And we had a discussion exactly about that. And the funny thing is, almost everybody thinks that they are not ready. almost everybody, even if they do like a significant amount of revenue, if they have a brand, if they are successful, they are on the 6, 7, sometimes 8-figure mark, they still think that they are not ready. And the reason for that is comparison. Like they look to the top. Like it's always the people above me. And this is where comparisons start, which reduces self-confidence. And that's what we work on. And it again goes back to who I am. Why do I do what I do? I am unique and my message counts. It doesn't matter what Tony Robbins say in that industry. It doesn't matter what Grant Cardone say in the real estate industry is. It's about me because I'm unique and I have a message and I'm on purpose. I am on mission. Like my identity is in action towards my vision. In other words, I'm on mission. Like we need to really make them ready. That's one of the biggest hurdles, the one you mentioned, like who am I? Then the vision with clarity, and then the readiness. They are coachable, most of them, but literally almost everybody doubt that they are ready for that next step, to be out there, to be seen as an authority and expert, the authority and expert that they actually are, but somehow they hide.
When you're seeing working with a client that's developing a personal brand and developing a PR strategy, what are some of the things that you find them coming in that just most times they just overlook, they haven't thought of?
It's their history. Like we always ask them, okay, we want you to do two things, make two lists. All your ups and successes in life, in business and life, which is part of your journey and who you are, and all of your downs and flops. For me, it was an 8-figure bankruptcy, a failed marriage. You know, all the things that we naturally try to hide and not talk about, but there's a big message and a lesson in all of that stuff. Most of the time, they overlook the details that make them who they are. I make an example on this place. 100-day water fast. I went through that process myself in specifically that water fasting thing. I started to ask myself, how was I able to do that? How did I that impossible thing that most people consider impossible in a healthy way? I checked my blood work, everything was perfect. The doctor couldn't understand, why are you healthy? Do you smile? Why is your blood like you should be dead by now? Like, how is that possible? And instead of going into that, I step back. I kind of extricate myself from that situation and look from a different angle and perspective and ask myself, how was I able to do that? And my personal formula for that was I decided to do it. It's a 5-step process. I decided to do it. Once I decided to do it, I educated myself, risk, pros, cons, and all that stuff. After education, I was at the point where I could commit 100%. And after commitment, it was only the discipline to be consistent. So it's decide, educate, commit, discipline, consistency for me. But and that's why I'm saying that, what I realized is that every achievement in life, fighting at the world championship in martial arts, and building these businesses, making 8 figures, getting up after a bankruptcy, doing a 100 fast, and all that stuff, I realized, hey, hold on. I always follow my personal framework. That's how I get stuff done. I decide, I educate myself, then I commit, and then I create the discipline to be consistent. That's my formula. And I believe that every single entrepreneur, every human being out there, they have their own core formula. They have their own framework on how they achieve whatever they achieved. And it could be a marriage, it could be raising kids, it could be anything. And this is always overlooked because it was just another moment. It was just another failure. It was just another success. How did you do it? And to go beyond that and found my framework and apply my framework that is proven because it's my life. This is how I get stuff done past 30, 40 years in my life. Hundreds of proofs. That's the proof of the concept in my life. And to figure that out and say, okay, instead of just listen, okay, this is how osmosis does it. This is like that's all good. Russell Brown, like this is education. This is how it works. Now, how do I apply that knowledge into my framework and do it my way because I know that works. That's what we try to extricate there and really highlight in these individuals when we create a story.
And you're talking about really a customized experience and at strategy achievers. This is what you guys do. I mean, strategy achievers is really about creating a customized path for your clients. And so my question is that how do you do that? How do you go through and kind of custom tailor the all of this specifically to each client that you're actually working
We only work with 10 hand selected clients per month. We just go quality over quantity. We stay away, I call it, we stay away from ego features. Like when people come to me, can you bring me on Forbes? I'm like, why do you want to be on Forbes? Like, how do you change the world with that? Like, it's most of the time it's for the ego. We stay away from that. That's why we don't highlight PR. It's personal branding. We need time to get to know each other. It's all based on value. When I start a call with someone, I always start it probably in a way that every sales expert say not to start it. I say, okay, before we start, this is not a sales call. I'm not going to even pitch you anything. I take it very literally. It's a discovery call. I discover, do I like you? Are we a match? Are we aligned with our core values? My core values are love, harmony, fun. I make sure that I love everything I do and I do what I love. I stay away from any kind of drama. I love harmony and it need to be fun. And if we both feel that by the end of the call, let's schedule something else and go into specifics and details on how can we work together. And then I'm interested, genuinely interested in the human being. I couldn't care less about the industry. I want to know the human being and build that connection. And I believe that your clients, his clients, her clients, all clients, this is where trust is built. People trust people. People engage with people. People do business with people. It's not the product, it's not the service, it's the human being. This is where we build a connection. And we take that very literally and serious to really build these relationships and connections and get to know each other. And that allows us then to really work together to extract what is beneficial to highlight the service or product or value that these individuals bring to the world.
Pascal, powerful things today. Powerful. Where everybody that's watching this or listening, where can they go to be able to learn more? Because we just got a chance today to kind of scratch the surface in 30 minutes. But what step can somebody take that's listening and they're this resonates and they're like, yes, this makes a lot of sense. I need to get these things figured out. What steps should they be able to take to be able to learn?
It's either strategyachievers.com or pascalbachmann.com. And Pascal Bachmann is more like the very personal stuff, like ID, vision, mission, the code for health, harmony, health, mind, harmony, wealth, and specifically personal branding is strategy achievers. That's all we do there, and we love it.
Thanks for coming on with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so two resources, the two steps you want to take right now. First of all, go to strategyachievers.com. And at strategyachievers.com, there's just a lot of great stuff here. You can learn a lot more about the services, you can learn more about them, and you can also just go through the blog as well as at the top right, you can actually connect with all of the social media channels. So actually follow them and get daily or regular tips from them as well. The next thing you want to do is go to Pascal's website, which is pascalbachmann.com. That's Pascal. And his last name is Bachmann, Bachmann. So go there to be able to learn more. And through both of these routes, you're able to get a little bit more insight about your brand, about your brand story, about being able to figure out who you really are and what you really stand for and what you really value. Because once you figure that out and nail that and put that out in the world, as we've discussed today, those are really the first steps of getting people to see you as your genuine self and then to come to you to do business where you're not out there chasing customers. So it all starts by visiting both of those sites, which is strategyachievers.com. That's strategyachievers.com, and pascalbachmann.com, which is PascalBachmann.com. Of course, I will put both of those links on the show resources page. So thank you so much for tuning in. Pascal, thanks again for coming back in. I mean, a lot. You've done a lot in the last 4 years, I think, since last time we met. So kudos and congratulations to you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you check out both those sites. Follow on social as well. It takes less than a minute to follow his links. And there's so much value he's delivering on the social media pages. And this will help you get this right and have customers flocking to you instead of you chasing your customers. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care. Have a great day.